Hi, everyone, and welcome to DesignTV by SANDOW. We're here today to talk about planning for a healthy and safe re-entry. I'm Avinash Rajagopal, the editor-in-chief of Metropolis, and we're going to talk about how organizations can create a reliable plan for re-entry post-COVID-19. Now, I know we don't have a vaccine yet, and there's a lot we don't know about the coming months, but the healthy building experts at the International Well Building Institute, the IWBI, have been hard at work to find a way to ensure that offices, sports venues, hotels, concert halls, and all the other spaces that we love to go to, and that we're going to so badly want to go back to after all these months at home, are healthy and safe for us to return to when we're ready. So the IWBI marshaled a COVID-19 task force in the spring, a host of experts from around the world, ranging from medicine to architecture to epidemiology. And based on the recommendations, it created a well health and safety rating earlier this year. About 100 organizations signed up as soon as the rating came out. And among them was the RocketMortgage FieldHouse in Cleveland, Ohio, which is, of course, home to the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Cleveland Monsters. The 2020 draft is almost upon us, and everybody's waiting to see when the new season is going to start. So this is a great time to be having a conversation. So we're here to talk about the rating and also to tell you about what it's like to put all those safeguards and criteria in place. Are Whitney Austin Gray, who is Senior Vice President of Research at IWBI. Hi, Whitney.
Hi, everyone.
And Michael Lathrop, who's the Facility Architect at RocketMortgage FieldHouse. Hey, Michael.
Hello.
Whitney, I'd like to start with you. Tell us what the health and safety rating actually represents. When somebody gets that seal on their door, what's that saying about them?
So it's really saying that you can trust your building and you can trust your organization. And trust comes because you're empowered with information and knowledge. And I think during this time, it's particularly important that you can trust your building and trust your organization to do the best thing they can for people to make it healthy and safe as you're returning to work. And so the health and safety rating is basically a series of criteria that pulls from the WELL building standard and encourages leading organizations to put forward policies around return to work. And it really is a powerful pathway to well. What I want to emphasize as part of my role leading research and my background in the field of research and public health is that, how do you make the invisible visible? So there are companies like RocketMortgage that are out there doing this hard work every day to clean, healthy air, to think about disinfection and sanitation practices. And you can't always as someone returning to the office. It's invisible in many ways, but it's these gatekeepers like Michael today that are going to tell you about all the great work they're doing. And with the Well Health Safety Rating, it gives you a seal to show you and make the invisible visible as to what are these organizations doing for your health and safety.
Right. That's so important, right? I mean, clean air looks no different from dirty air, right? We don't know if pathogens are in the air, right? It's not visible to the human eye. And so we need a way for experts to communicate with us, for us to know that they've done their due diligence. Michael, tell us why RocketMortgage FieldHouse decided on the Well Health and Safety Rating as you were thinking about reentry. Why was this the pathway that you chose?
It seemed like a natural fit for us in that our leadership team, led by Dan Gilbert, is very much focused on doing the right thing. And that right thing extends out to our guests, extends out to our teamers, which is what we call our employees, and the team that play at the RocketMortgage FieldHouse. So for us, it was a natural fit. We really enjoyed, or I should say we liked, the idea that in developing well health safety, you'd reached out to all these different professionals and experts in their field. So this wasn't something that was sort of a nebulous, fluffy requirement or certification or rating. It was something that we felt was a concrete representation of our commitment to maintaining the health and safety of our team members and our guests.
Whitney, Michael is talking about, this is not fluff, right? So obviously this is a pretty stringent framework. Tell us a little bit about the sort of main criteria. I know there's many of them, but if you want to highlight just a few, what is sort of at the heart of the well health and safety rating?
Sure, absolutely. So these are focused largely on policies. These have to be policies that are enacted, not ones that you think you may have in the future. And those are going to focus largely on cleaning and sanitation practices and procedures, emergency preparedness programs, so making sure these are in place before these incidents are occurring, health service resources, that's going to be providing sick leave and health benefits, mental health benefits. We are also, many people are not aware, in the middle of a mental health pandemic. In May alone, we were looking at some stats out of the UK, the National Health System, that was tracking that days away from work due to mental health was actually 3 times higher than those days away from work from COVID. Those are early numbers coming in, but this is only going to become more substantial as organizations are grappling with how to support not just the physical health of people, but the mental health of people, and that's included in the health safety rating. We're going to look at air and water quality management. People don't realize that buildings are not meant to go to sleep. So we need to maintain those buildings when we return to work, which includes overall maintenance and operations strategies. We're also trying to max buildings out. We're asking for more air quality, higher ventilation, filtration. That's pushing these systems. And so it's not enough to just tinker with them. We need a plan, and we need an engineer. They'd basically be able to attest that those policies are going to meet what the guidelines are for those different pieces of equipment and for the human health in the space. Things such as cleaning protocol are really important because it's not just, there's so much information out there that I think is really at times overwhelming for consumers, which is just because you spray an alcohol-based cleaner on means that you have addressed the issue. And this also has to do how long it stays on the surface. Cleaning, sanitation, not the same thing. So these are the things that we'll get into. We'll also talk about stakeholder engagement and communication. So going back to making the invisible visible, communication is a form of empowerment for people. If you feel overwhelmed and you're supposed to, in your spare time after you're working from home and managing kids, supposed to go home and read every article that's published about COVID and then somehow understand if it's going to be safe to return to work. No, you want to trust the organization's taking care of you, and you want to look for that seal because that tells you this is a knowledge shortcut. Someone's done the work for me. I can trust they've done everything that they can do. And we need these. We need these sort of trust shortcuts that allow us to know that our building is health and safe to be able to return. And I want to add to this. I know the conversation today is in response to COVID, but the leaders that we work with, like Rocket Mortgage, this is a resiliency issue. This is not just responding to the pandemic. This is a long-term strategy. And I'll remind you that resilience is not avoidance. It's not saying this will never happen, or it didn't happen, or we're not at risk. It's saying we're going to build resiliency and anticipate that these things may be part of something going forward in our organization, and we have a plan in place. And that is a heart of the health and safety rating, is this resiliency strategy.
Right. I was just going to say, all the things that you were listing are things that are applicable at any time. They're not necessarily just a response to COVID. So I completely get what you're saying. I mean, a framework like this is important for organizations, just as we learn new things about how buildings can put us at risk, or how our behavior in buildings, might be inadvertently harming our physical and mental health. The point you raised about mental health also, thank you so much for bringing that up. That's really important. Certainly this year, I'm sure everybody's, facing serious mental health challenges, even if they weren't before. It has been a stressful and traumatic time for us as a society. So, it's really important for us to bring that to the fore at this point in time. So we're here talking about how we can plan for a healthy and safe re-entry with Whitney Austin Gray from IWBI and Michael Lathrop from RocketMortgate FieldHouse. Michael, so we just heard from Whitney, all the criteria that are in the well health and safety rating. How is Rocket Mortgage applying that? What are the changes or what are the adjustments you're making in facilities or operations in order to meet the criteria?
So we have a very robust mental health and health commitment in our organization. So we already have we're very aggressive in pursuing those efforts. We have an excellent HR team and wellness team that assist us in that. One of the things that the benefit of going through the health safety process was that we drilled down into many different areas and aspects of our operations, not only within the HR aspects of it, but going deeper into operations, deeper into cleaning, deeper into air and water purity and issues such as that. We really took all 20 potential aspects of well, and in sort of developing our strategy, really investigated them thoroughly. So this is going to have a substantial downstream impact, we think, within our organization, and that we will see benefits from the comfort level of our guests who are entering the building, such as implementing cleaning protocols that may not have were in place, but were not necessarily, as you said, broadcast or made public. We're making aspects of the building such as that, or our operations such as that, more readily understandable. So that's a big portion of what we're doing. We've also investigated our air filtration systems. Fortunately, we went through a major renovation ending in 2019. So we were pretty robust in that aspect. But what we've discovered through working with an engineer on evaluating our systems were that we had some spaces that needed additional assistance that were sort of legacy spaces left over from when the FieldHouse was opened in 1994. So we feel that the sort of downstream impacts that we're going to see in terms of cleanliness, advancing hand washing among staff and guests, additional filtration, that we're going to see some very substantial impacts as time goes on.
Absolutely.
Can I add there?
Go ahead, Whitney.
So I just really wanted to emphasize that today for all your viewers is that there's many building experts on the line, and we work with building experts. We believe we have expertise in building science. But I want to put forward that as a public health professional and researcher is that we actually need our building professionals to be public health advocates. Former Surgeon General, Acting Surgeon General Boris Lushniak presented at AIA, this was in 2014, and it was incredible to be in the front row and hear him say, architects, planners, sustainability experts, you are public health advocates. And so my request and my ask is that as those building professionals are listening today is that yes, we're talking about being building experts, but you are also people experts. And I'm going to go even further as to say that Dr. Joseph Allen, who we work pretty closely with at Harvard, has even said that your facility manager may have a greater impact on preventing COVID-19 than your doctor. So you have to ask yourself, who do you trust? And this is the game of prevention. And I think the connection you have with your company that says, yes, we've done everything we can to not just create a building that's safe, but also be focused on the people being safe. And that, you really have a voice to play because this is the prevention game. This is not the treatment game only. This is the long-term prevention game, and that is the power that the built environment can play as we can actually design out problems and design spaces that help to prevent not only infectious disease, but also chronic disease, which does not come up a lot in these conversations, but mental health, which we did mention, and I want to get out there. But if you already have chronic diseases, you also have high comorbidity issues that are going to potentially exacerbate COVID-19. So the companies that we're working with to pursue the Well Health Safety Rating, I think these are building experts that are now people experts, and they're communicating to the people their building expertise and the role the built environment plays, very powerfully. And again, on that resiliency note, I think they're in it for the long term. They're looking at infectious and chronic diseases and communicating that to people about the role the built environment plays. And if you weren't already aware of the role the built environment plays, I think people really understand. If you're 50, that's 45 years of your life indoors. And, you know, we can do better. I think a lot of people are asking themselves about their indoor environments right now. So there's a huge power and potential for change here and to create really healthy buildings that people want to return to.
Right. And there's been no better time. If you are somebody who's been curious about getting into the healthy building movement, if you've been curious about the WELL standard, if you've been curious about how you can do your bit for public health, there is no better time than now to get involved. So thank you so much, Whitney. I mean, you know, there is going to be no other time, I think, where we're going to see such a demand for transparency around public health. And Michael, you spoke to that as well. You know, we need to be communicating this stuff. As advocates for public health, we have huge influence, as Whitney said, in preventing, you know, health crises through our work in the built environment, but also through our work in the built environment, which touches people every day through really amazing spatial and experiential modes. We actually have a way of communicating with people, and we need to communicate with people about what is the best way for them to use the spaces that we've designed for them. So this is really, really important. Michael, I'd love to bring you in on top of that. You are the facility architect at RocketMortgate FieldHouse. So in that role, what have you been doing as part of this health and safety rating initiative? What are some of the things that you've been contributing to the process?
Well, as a design professional, I'm a registered architect. I have maybe a different viewpoint than many of the people that I work with, in that architects and designers are generalists. We touch on many different areas of design. We work with many different clients, and we have sort of a broad understanding of lots of different things. So the advantage for me was that I was able to look at us from an operational standpoint, and then also look at us from the standpoint of the 20 criteria or points or elements that we needed to address, and be able to come up with the strategy. So it really was hugely beneficial to have my background, because from a strategy standpoint, it's really it is sort of a design process in a way. You're looking at what your existing elements are, what the topography is. It's just a different model for that. So it was incredibly beneficial. I worked primarily with all the teams that were involved in sort of helping to evaluate what their existing processes were, what their existing benefits were, what our existing systems were, and then helping strategize what we were going to do to augment those and bring us to a place where we were able to achieve health safety.
Right. I'm wondering, both of you, would it be possible for us, for the sake of everybody who's listening, who might be considering, you know, the WELL health and safety rating, can you tell us, you know, roughly what the path to rating looks like? So you enroll, and then what happens? You know, how do you get from there to your end goal?
Well, shall
Whitney,
I,
do you want to come?
Whitney, or would you like to?
Please, Michael.
From the perspective of an owner, our process, once again, was to look at what strategy we needed to pursue. So in the process of enrolling, there are excellent guides and information that are included on the WELL Health Safety website. So we had, from a process standpoint, we had really good guidance in terms of what we needed to do. We also had great contacts at WELL who assisted us in moving it forward. So, you know, from process, once again, starting out with, you know, enrolling, diving into the documentation to better understand what it was that was being asked of us. You know, understanding how our decisions and the things that we chose to do to augment our processes in our facility would have a downstream impact on the people that occupy it. And then strategizing, saying, you know, of these 20 elements, these are the ones that we're going to go at, either because of existing protocols or benefits that we have within the organization, or because they're things that, as an organization, we feel are extremely important for us to achieve, such as, once again, augmenting air cleaning processes, increasing sanitization, making sure that those processes that we implement are sustainable in the long term. So for the most part, from an owner's perspective, it is a relatively simple process. It's really develop your strategy, understand where you are currently, and then pursue what you need to accomplish.
Whitney,
that was a perfect answer. Thank you, Michael. And better coming from someone who's gone through it. I would just add that we are all in this movement together. So today, if you were not on a building project, if tomorrow you plan to be, or if you're a student listening in and just want to be part of a healthy building movement, I would encourage you to check out the health and safety rating that's free to download. That's something I'm really honored to say that's not always true of resources in the area for students. Since I got my PhD as a student for like half my life. So I really support students to learn about this, share it, and understand what the strategies are. And to Michael's point, they may not all fit you today, but if you are going to be the go-to person in your organization responsible for answering why or why not, you want to make sure that you knew what the strategy could have been and why you chose to do it today or why you might do it tomorrow. And that is where knowledge becomes extremely powerful. You do not want to be the person that is asked these hard questions on a webcast and then say, I didn't even think about mental health, right? So we want to make sure that this is a resource. It's available for everyone. We think third-party verification is able to offer a level of trust because I've just been in too many committees, too many conferences, too many places where people say, sure, it's healthy. And I'm breathing the air in thinking, no, I don't really think it's too healthy. So we do need that verification level. And I think that's really an important part of it. But do start today, share it widely, get educated, get empowered, and have the answers before you're asked.
If I may interject one thing, Whitney, you brought up a really good point, which is not all strategies are appropriate for all organizations. We found that there were certain strategies that we were not going to be able to achieve in our time frame for trying to achieve the certification or the rating. That's not to say that it did not create within us or inspire us to pursue other opportunities that you identified, such as, an example would be business continuity plan, an incredibly complex process. That inspired us to pursue other areas that weren't necessarily included in our application, but are things that are ultimately really beneficial to us. So I think overall, even if something doesn't fit for your strategy, you may find something in there, even outside of that you do want to implement in the next 6 months to a year. There's going to be a great benefit to your organization or your client.
And I'm going to add more on that, which is that I am always so honored to work with designers and architects because these are creative problem solvers. So if we can tell you what's needed for health and you can tell us a different strategy, we really support that. That's part of the backbone of WELL is that we put forward the intent and we give you strategies to achieve it, but we are constantly seeing innovation in the marketplace. And that's what I think what's powerful. So we understand what's happening to the human in the environment around exposure to this virus. And then we give you the why, and then you can tell us how you're going to do it. That makes our system stronger and better. So that's also another ask and homework to everyone listening, is let's bring creative problem solvers to the table to think about how this is going to shape design moving forward, and not in a punitive way, but actually in a practical and proactive way.
Right. And of course, WELL, IWBI, the organization that certifies the WELL standard, has a host of resources for all of you to take part in. Of course, it's great that the WELL Health and Safety Rating is available for download free, but you can also look at the at WELL version 2, the entire WELL standard on the IWBI website, and there's lots of CEUs and other educational programs that they undertake all the time. So please keep an eye on that. Whitney, thank you also for giving us a little peek into how IWBI actually works with people who do apply for the WELL Health and Safety Rating. To come back to that, in terms of setting the intent and then working with them to identify strategies that do fit that intent. Can you talk a little bit more about how you partner with those who apply, and then what happens once they get the rating? Is there a post-rating process, so to speak, to kind of make sure that they have what they need to continue to comply with the criteria?
Yeah, absolutely. So we will share with you all the links that you need, including our landing page, which answers all those questions real time for where you are in the project. The first step is get familiar with it. And as you apply, you'll also receive resources such as coaching contacts if you need it. You identify the features that you are targeting, and then you actually submit documentation of those policies. Again, not ones you want in the future, but ones you're actually doing and are enacted, which is important. And then we use a third-party verification, which means we don't say that this worked or didn't work for our standard. We use GBCI, which also works with the LEED system if you're familiar, and they will verify it. And then you will receive a seal, which basically says you have gone through our program, you have been verified by a third party, and that actually has a QR code on it. And I think what's been really exciting for us is this added feature that that anyone entering the building can scan that QR code to find out if this is a seal that has been awarded 5 years ago, or, well, it wasn't around 5 years ago, but the idea is in the future that we're asking annual renewal, so people will know where that building is in the renewal process. There are some documents that will come through as far as monitoring documents, air quality, filtration, that you're standard practice, that you're changing those based on manufacturer's recommendations. We do ask for that type of paperwork, and that's kind of that last step as far as that ongoing maintenance. It's not enough to just say, today you're a healthy building. It's, will you continue to be a healthy building over time? And that's part of what that seal will help to do. And I do think it's that knowledge shortcut. If you see the seal, someone's done the homework for you. I can trust that they've done this to the best of their ability with the research that we have, and they're communicating that out to people. And I think you're going to see people ask a lot more of their buildings and not just trust that these walls are healthy for them. And I think consumers are going to drive wanting more information from their buildings. And I think the WELL Health and Safety Rating, is my hope, is it allows the walls to talk.
Right. Absolutely. I love that idea. And I love that there's a QR code on it. It's also an important way of educating everybody, the general public who's walking through these buildings. I mean, think of the thousands of people that might come through Rocket Mortgage FieldHouse just for one event, right? And if all of them have an opportunity to learn something, not just about that building in particular, but about how buildings might help them in general, I think that's fantastic. So, it's really important to note that this is really an open, communicative rating system. It's transparent, and it is third-party verified. So that's really important as well.
Can I offer actually some examples of that?
Go ahead, Whitney.
A lot of our leading companies provide spaces for their employees, but they also provide space for the community. And I think this is really powerful to think about. So we at IWBI, we work with arenas, for example. So yes, you are there for the event, like the New York Yankee Stadium, but there's also a lot of people moving in and around that space. And so this is really important. In Dubai, malls have become a strategy for public health. They actually list kilometer ratings so people can walk inside, and that it's protected from the heat and the sand and the air quality and the safety. So we have to rethink about how spaces are communicating around health. And I think you're going to see people rethinking these indoor spaces and wondering, is it safe even as a public benefit? And so I just want to emphasize that we are looking to our organizations to be leaders in that. Oftentimes, maybe other public spaces are not conveying that message. And so it's a really huge kudos to those that are leading the way to create spaces, not just for their workers, but for their community.
Right. Michael and Whitney, any last words of advice for listeners who might be tuning in, architects, interior designers, or organizations that might be thinking of enrolling for the WELL Health and Safety Rating? Any words of advice?
Well, I think that ultimately going through the process is going to help an organization or a facility achieve a higher level of team member health and safety. I know that's rather silly to say that because that's the point of it, but it does cause an organization to really look deeply into what their processes are and what their benefits are and how they're doing business, how they're maintaining facility. And ultimately, it's going to have a downstream of impact where you do see people who are more satisfied with their job. Because they're breathing better quality air, they're more productive. You have less absenteeism. And that has a massive impact on the community at large. So my thoughts would be, there's a vast benefit to exploring this. That it can be a point where you use this to maintain the processes you have in place to improve health, or you can take the next step and you can go on to the larger well certification. But I think this is an excellent place to start your journey at and see where it takes you.
Thank you, Michael. And it's just so wonderful to hear your story. I think in this virtual world, it's wonderful to connect with all of our family near and far that are pursuing really and to care deeply about health and safety. I think I'll just end on two kind of comments to that, Avi, which has to do with being part of the conversation and controlling what you can. So thanks to Metropolis, we are in a conversation today. You're either in it or you're out of the conversation. You either know what's happening in the world through this magical box called your computer and Zoom, or you don't. You can't answer the hard questions. You don't know what the latest research is, and that leads to overwhelm. That leads to not knowing what to do. And so the second point I want to make is control. You know, this is not the first time in public health we've dealt with a pandemic. Many of us knew it was coming. We just didn't know the name or the time. We estimate that this is going to continue to be an issue around zoonotic diseases in the future, and that we need to anticipate this. There are still infectious diseases like the flu that are seasonal that we are monitoring every day. You need to control what you can, right? And that is the power of information and research. And for the first time in many people's memories that are living today, we are dealing with an infectious disease pandemic. For a lot of us, it was our parents or grandparents dealing with polio. So you have to understand we're in a time that's going to revolutionize the industry, and you need to be in the conversation on this, and you need to be able to control what we can and understand that we are learning in this together. And this really is, I do believe, part of a big family, and we're up to big things together. And so I wish everyone on this call that they're taking care of their own health and safety. This is personal to us all, and I just want to thank you again, Avi and Metropolis and RocketMortgate. It's just been an honor to have a conversation with you all today.
Thank you, Whitney. And everyone, come join us. Join the conversation. Learn to control what you can control. There's amazing experts out there. There's amazing peers and contemporaries like Michael out there who have been through this, who know what it's about, who can help you. So we're all here. We are here to make the built environment better for all of us and to work better for people and planet. That's what we need to do. And I invite you to come join the movement. Thank you so much, Whitney, and thank you so much, Michael, for sharing your insights with us. This has been absolutely incredible. For everybody listening in, please go to the IWBI website, learn about the Well Health and Safety Rating, look into it, and I'm sure Whitney and her team are there to support you in whatever place you choose to enter and whatever you choose to do with it. Thank you all so much. This has been absolutely wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Be well.
Hey everybody, this is Cindy Allen, Editor-in-Chief of Interior Design. How are you? Today marks episode 8 of our partnership with our good friends at the NKBA, AKA the Cindy and Suzie Show. And what better way to celebrate than to hear from our future with NKBA's 30 Under 30. But first, some hot off the press news. Here's Suzie Williford, EVP and Chief Strategy Officer from the NKBA, AKA the Queen of the National Kitchen and Bath Association with 50,000 members strong. How are you, Suzie, and what's up?
Hi, Cindy. How are you doing?
It's great to see you again.
When I first read this and it said 8th episode, I'm like, that's 8 months. I don't even believe it. It's so much fun. I look forward to it, but the months are just flying by.
They really are. I mean, right. A highlight is that we get to see each other for sure.
It is. And I thank you so much for having me. It's always so much fun.
Oh, well, tell me what's happening with KBIS. I need to know. Okay.
Well, as you, I'm sure, have heard, and I think probably everybody's heard by now, we've made it was an extremely difficult decision to make, but it was the prudent decision to make, to move our show to an all virtual event. Held out as long as we could, trying to make out how we work, make it work for everybody, but we can all agree that the most important thing is everybody's health and safety of your members, our exhibitors, and we just couldn't get where we needed to go fast enough because there's so much preparation that has to be done to pull off an event of that size. So KBIS in February is going to be an all virtual event, and we're working extremely hard to make sure that it is amazing. It's not going to be like a webinar. It's not going to be a podcast. It's going to be, we're going to have some 3D booths. Pretty excited about that. Amazing graphics, interactive things, product tours. We'll have our conference online, which will be great for CEUs. It's called the Voices of the Industry, and that will live online for a while so people can do it. We'll have a special guest for our State of the Industry, David Kohler, which we're very excited about. We've got our Design and Industry Awards, which we're very excited about. So we're going to bring to the community and the industry everything we can to kind of do a nice thing, knowing that we're going to come back in 2022 with a vengeance. I mean, it's going to be, everybody's already excited about 2022, and it makes us all very aware of the fact that this virtual component and having an all virtual event is great. And luckily for us, we've got a team that can do it. I mean, we are really, really lucky that we have the people in place, not even knowing this was coming down the pike. But we're excited about the fact that we now are confident in the fact that the life of our trade show is never ending, because the people want to be with people. They want to connect. So this is going to be the best thing. We're going to do some fun stuff together. And then throughout the year, we'll start with some events.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot that, we all continue to learn, and there'll be some amazing things that come out of it. And as you said, there is nothing like people to people, but hey, I know you're going to put on an amazing show.
One thing that's going to come out of it was we were having a meeting today about it. We have meetings every day. And we were talking about the fact that there's so many people with all these companies, so many people can come to show, so many can't. So one thing that this will do is all the people that were always left behind now will have an opportunity to have a component of the show. So that's exciting. And of course, every year we do our 30 under 30s, which is also exciting, and they're going to be just as powerful, virtual or not.
Right. Okay. So thank you for sharing that. And we know you're just going to keep moving things forward in a very positive way. So I thank you. But okay, so let's talk about 30 under 30, which, by the way, so Suzie, how did they know it was our age?
No, I don't know. I mean,
the under 30 gals are laughing. You shouldn't be laughing. No. So
it's not funny. It's not funny.
It's really not funny. But tell us.
And it happened quick.
But tell us about the program, Suzie.
Okay, so this is, and the NKBA 30 under 30 is a really accomplished group of young professionals. We get hundreds of submissions every year for this. They come from all facets of the kitchen and bath industry. So it's designers, remodelers, showroom professional, architects, installers, cabinet builders, all across North America, Canada, and the US.
Okay, Suzie, what was behind the concept and when did it start?
How it started was 10 years ago, 2013. So that means that now with this class, we'll have 300 of them. 300. And we call them,
wow.
Once their year is over, they're the alumni, the 30 under 30 alumni. And we started it in 2013. The concept was to identify future rock stars, to have a little fun with the youth in the industry and to start bringing attention to them. We were blown away. We were blown away. I mean, we got applicants, and they can either self-nom or be nominated, either way, where young CEOs, 25, 28 years old, with crazy companies, great ideas. Right. All of these people have passions for their, whatever their specialty is. It doesn't matter what they do, and they all have leadership potential, they have star potential, they have enthusiasm, and of course, it's fun to get them together because you can imagine when you get a group of people that are that enthusiastic, it's like crazy to get them all. And they're so enthusiastic, and then we have seen many of them transition. Molly Switzer, who was one of our past 30 under 30s, she's an AKBD, she's president of the Columbia River chapter. She was just named last year at KBIS Officer of the Year, which is the biggest honor of all for our chapter officers. Richard A to Z, or Richard Anaskevich, we call him. Richard, I know you know him, but you may not know. He was in our alumni class of 30 under 30s.
That's amazing. So,
I remember when I met him, I said, you really, I think you're going to go somewhere. You're special. Well,
You're special. I love it, Richard A to Z. So wait, also as a young professional, it's really vital to be part of the industry and connect with others. So what are some of the perks of the program?
Well, the year that they're inducted, and they participate at KBIS, and we bring them to KBIS. Unfortunately, this year that won't happen. And they do the 30 Choice Awards, where they select new products, new trends. And of course, this is very important to the exhibitor community and the attendee community, because we know that they're looking at it with a young eye. They're fresh in the world. They know what's coming down in trends and design. And so they do the 30 Choice Awards. They're invited to special events throughout the year. They go to networking summits. SKS invited them, the 30s, they sponsored the 30s, invited them out to their design center out in Napa Valley. And wow, have you been out there? Have you been to that design center? All right, sister, that's an experience.
Okay,
we'll do that one. We'll do that one. And they have great networking opportunities with peers and established leaders across the industry. They do focus groups. And this year, since KBIS is all virtual, they're going to have a chance to collaborate through virtual showrooms and virtual rooms. I think they'll even have a better opportunity to have an impact on design and what's going forward.
That's amazing. Okay, so without further ado, drum roll please, let's meet three of our designers from our 30 under 30 program, which, by the way, I handpicked myself. So I'd like to welcome Katelyn Woods, intermediate interior designer from Kendall Ansell Interiors. Congratulations, Katelyn.
Thank you. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
And then we have Abigale Latham, junior designer from Beyond Interior Design. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. And Malyka Abramson, your industrial designer for Delta, which was very exciting. How are you doing?
Good, good. Glad to be here.
Yes, so there was a huge list. There was talent all over the place. There was just something about the three of you, without knowing you, that I said, oh, they're the ones. So Abby, what's it like to be awarded a 30 under 30, and what do you see just in general about being part of this community?
I'm so excited that I was chosen to be part of this. I did get a chance to go to KBIS last year, and I saw it posted everywhere, and I told my boss, I was like, me, please. I want this.
Hey, look at that.
And I just think it's a really great opportunity to meet other professionals in the industry and just really get my ideas out there as well. And I don't know, I love that opportunity.
That's great. And Katelyn, what's your passion in this business? What do you love doing?
My passion is design. I love finding out new trends. And for example, last year was my first year at KBIS, and it was such an inspiring experience getting to see all the new forthcoming things and kind of immersing myself in the world even more in such a way that I've never done before. It's really cool.
And Malyka, I was excited by you because, as Suzie said, it's a wide variety that makes up the 30 under 30. But of course, I can't help myself. I have to kind of go for the designers, right? So I was like, oh, an industrial designer, fantastic. What's it like working for Delta?
Honestly, I mean, I love it. I've been there for a little over a year now, and I don't think I've worked a few different places. I don't think I've ever experienced working with a team quite like Delta. You know, it's the perfect blend of like aesthetics and making things look pretty for the consumer, and then also like usability and focusing on the customer as well. So it's really fun. I love it.
Yeah, and you guys being so young and like careers ahead of you, how are you handling what's going on right now? Katelyn, how about you?
It's a different world for sure. Not kind of going out there and networking and not seeing the materials or going to the tile shops and that kind of thing. It's a different world, but it's also kind of opened my eyes up to looking at websites and kind of looking at different products and kind of going out of my comfort zone, kind of trying to find new things and kind of, so it's been an eye-opening thing, but I think it's actually been kind of good, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Suzie, look, we're doing this show right now. I don't think I would have met these gals if this hadn't happened. There are definite benefits that we have to look as positives, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And
I've been in this business since I started in this industry when I was 24. So without divulging my age, that is a long time ago. And this has been, you know, I look at the youth, I look at you guys and I think, wow, if they stay, if you stick with this, look what this has done for me. And we didn't have the advantages of these Zoom meetings. I mean, I know this has been hard,
yes.
And I know that, but what I think you'll have this whole next generation, because I know even now with all the time I've got in, I have a whole new level of appreciation, for my job, for my industry, for everything. And I think you will too.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, you all will find a different kind of strength that, and you have it in you for sure, but a different kind of strength because it's happening right now to you. But at the same time, that's why I was so excited about the show, because it's something that you really could look forward to, that you've already received an award during all this craziness, and there's lots of good stuff that's going to come out of it. Abby, are you finding that your company is supporting you in a positive way?
Oh my gosh, yes. It's been, honestly, I know it's hard, but it's been a blessing for us. Like, we have been getting a lot more projects in. And I mean, we expanded our company even more just through this pandemic. And it's really just been very eye-opening and great to be able to, I get more projects in, and I get to practice a little more with my craft. And I really love that aspect.
Are you finding a way, so Malyka, because you're industrial designer, by the way, I saw you sent this great shot of your desk with a prototype on it. I love that. Like, I love it so much. But you know, when you're sketching, so you can sketch from home, but just in terms of the details of making an object that's going to function and also be beautiful, how are you finding working over any kind of virtual applications with the mentors that you have?
Yeah, there's definitely like a steep learning curve at the beginning. You know, we were kind of floundering about trying to figure out how can we effectively communicate like what our idea is in 3D. Because, you know, sketching, we have our steps of sketching. It's like rough at first, refined, and then we go into 3D CAD and we print it and we all look at it. And without being able to look at it, there's like a loss of advice that you can get from my mentors. So we focused a lot on how can we still meet without actually meeting? So we'll set up our prototypes and be like one at a time, like visit, go back home, discuss, write notes. It's all about the effort that you kind of put in, how you work around the challenges. And I think Delta's done a pretty good job of that. And our work hasn't suffered at all because of this.
That's great. No, that's great. And yeah, for sure. Like right now, I'm working on designing an award for a big program we do at the end of the year. And so I'm getting samples. I mean, working with the glass company that's working on the award. Like it's a different, like it's definitely different steps, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But you know, you're going to get better from it for sure, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I want to show a little work. So, Katelyn, why don't we start with you? What's the favorite project that you've worked on so far? I see some nice projects like the Carousdale condo.
Yeah, so the Carousdale condo was one that is, I would say, aesthetically my favorite project to work on. It was actually a new build condo that a woman and her husband purchased, and they moved in and they were really disappointed with the actual craftsmanship that came out of this new build. So we were hired to come in and kind of give it an overhaul and actually make it feel like a home, not like a spec home that was just kind of off the floor. So, and also creating creative solutions for storage, because new condos don't have a lot of storage solutions. So with that, we put in this beautiful steam fireplace that was also kid friendly, so it wasn't harsh on the hands. And the whole fireplace was wrapped in an oxidized metal that was also doubled as a storage. So
yeah, I love that.
That's
a beautiful piece. Are you finding that your clients are asking for new innovations in kitchens and baths right now with everything that's going on?
Yes, definitely. It's something that's coming up more and more, which is exciting.
So Katelyn, what's another project that you loved working on?
Another project that I loved working on was called Oak Street. So it was an old building, just like Abby's project. They lived in it for about 30 years, had horrible wallpaper, horrible carpet, horrible angles. It was all closed off. So we opened up the walls and really tried to work in a way that the angles made sense and weren't there as a burden, that they were there as a feature. So that was a really interesting one to work on.
Yeah, it ended up being a nice open space, as I recall, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Abby, what about you? I know you sent a lot of sketches. You may be in the middle of things.
I am. I think one of the cool projects that we worked on was the Quincy project. It's actually for a builder. We do a lot of spec homes with them. And this one was, in particular, was for a client. And they wanted everything to be very minimal, like barely any textures, a little contrast. And we decided to run with that and make it as minimal as we could. Especially in the master bathroom. I thought that was really great. We did a suspended mirror over an island sink. And right past that is the steam shower. And the whole exterior portion wall of the steam shower was a window, and you could look out into their garden. It was like very serene feeling in there.
So yeah. I saw a lot of renderings.
Yeah, that's like my main forte here. I do the 3D modeling, and then I send them through renderings and do the videos. We're trying to do some VR stuff for our clients just to really get the vision across.
I love that. I love that. So Abby, tell us some of the things you're hearing from your clients.
Well, I think mostly it's a lot of the tech integrated appliances.
Right.
And actually, when I was at KBIS, I went to the Delta showroom, and the faucet that you can like speak to and tell it the temperature and all that, I was so amazed by that. I thought that was just the coolest thing. And I know that our clients are really wanting something to feel special. I mean, something different and innovative in their space.
Yeah, Malyka, let's speak to that. So are you involved in that kind of piece of the equation, or will you eventually?
So our team is. So with every sort of innovation that's going on kind of behind the scenes in the kitchen and bath space, they always go through the design team at some point. And I don't exactly know if they like that because we tend to ask the harder usability questions and make them go back to the drawing board on a few things. But yeah, we have a hand in most of that stuff. There's actually a branch within the design team focused on more future kind of stuff, and that's kind of what they'll handle.
I mean, Suzie and I have talked about with other more senior designers just about touchless everything, right? And I'm sure Delta is very involved in that.
Oh, yes, yes.
And Malyka, what about a favorite product that you're working on right now?
So right now, I think my favorite product I'm working on is actually for our Brizo line, which is our luxury line. We kind of get to do stuff a little more out there, a little more crazy. And we're currently working on our project that's supposed to come out in maybe like 2 years. So we're having some fun right now with that behind the scenes.
Oh, so it's kind of hush hush.
Yeah.
Oh, track. Come on, Malyka, be a pal. So Abby, there's a beautiful kitchen, that Tamarisk kitchen. Yes. Can you tell us about that one?
So that was actually a builder home from the 1970s. And our clients actually moved in like right after they built it. I think there was one other owner for a short period of time. And they just have lived in this kind of outdated space for the last 25, 30 years with old wallpaper and old can lighting and all closed off spaces. So what they asked us to do was really open up the space, make it an open concept. So we got these 22-inch beams to support the weight of the upstairs and got rid of all the interior walls. And we really wanted to speak to the architecture of the house and do a more clean lined but transitional space for them that just made sense. They needed a lot of storage. They have a lot of papers and all that kind of stuff because they're working from home. And we were really excited to use a new material for our office. I know it's not a new material in general, but it was a porcelain countertop. Mm-hmm. And we really tried to book match the veins as much as we could. And we took the porcelain all the way up on the backsplash. And I think my favorite part was just one corner in the kitchen. I love this part. The upper cabinets don't go all the way to like wall to wall. There's just a little space in between the cabinet and the wooden wall on the one side. And we took the porcelain all the way up. And just the way that the materials of the wood accent wall, the porcelain going up, and then the metal rods that hang the floating shelves, it's really cohesive and just a nice moment where they all meet.
Hey, look, design is in the detail. I love to hear that you get so excited about a small detail that actually makes a big difference in a kitchen, right?
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah. So Katelyn, what is your firm hearing from your clients about some of the changes that your clients want right now?
One thing that we've actually found that's been really interesting that's come out of this pandemic is actually a way to use materials that actually don't absorb like bacteria. So researching things that don't retain bacteria or smells or that are easier to clean or that kind of thing. So that's been a big learning curve and a good way to kind of introduce new products and research things for us in terms of moving forward in just everyday life, whether it's the virus or just a cold. So,
right. I mean, that is the thing. Malyka, also as a company that is making functional, beautiful objects. I mean, that's something that, in a way, it's the heart, like kind of the DNA of companies like a Delta, but it's not something that in the past we had to deal with so much. And now it's just out there and clients are saying like, whether I want it to be, touchless or I want to be able to clean it and it be easy, right? So is those conversations you guys are having?
Yeah, that obviously you can't go into too much detail about what we're working on, but I know that that is definitely something that we are hearing from our clients, from our customers on multiple fronts. So
yeah, and Abby, you were saying, and honestly, you guys are in an industry right now where there is a lot of upside. So at least the residential market is staying pretty active, and obviously everyone who's at home now wants to renovate and they want a new kitchen and bath and spa. And so you were saying your company is actually expanding. So you've been able to take advantage of this.
Yeah. Yes, we definitely have. It's been a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, Suzie, you're here. That this market is doing fairly well, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's in the remodeling market is very, very strong. Housing industry as a whole is strong. You know, the economy is going to make a slow and steady recovery here, but our end of the industry is in really, really good shape. And, you know, I was recorded on something the other day. I can't even remember what it was, but we were talking about the fact that the kitchen and bath industry is strong right now, and it's strong because people are in their homes more, and the homes are multitasking, and they're looking at, you know, like Abby said, they were in the house for a very long time and it was outdated and couldn't stand to look at it anymore. Shoot, I told you that I did mine for the exact same reason. I look back at the pictures now. I showed them to a friend last night. I was like, why was I living in that kitchen? I'm in this business, for God's sake.
I don't want to see those, Suzie.
I wouldn't even show them to you. I'm too embarrassed. Yeah. But the thing that's interesting is our kitchen and our baths used, you know, they're the heart of the home. They were our sanctuaries. Now, there are offices, there are gyms, there are schools for our kids. They're where we have our TV. I mean, it has morphed into this multitasking areas, and we get the privilege to be able to make that impact on people by changing. I mean, Abby, how much did those people love what you did for them? I mean, their world changed all of a sudden. Yes. Because people can't think that they have to bring trusses in to hold their second floor up. And as these young people start coming up with ideas, it's going to take somebody at Delta that's got this wonderful idea how to do something unique that you can't tell us about. And Katelyn that, you know, is designing special spaces. Well, we really, I think because of the fact that we are in this position that our industry is so busy, we're going to be really impactful on what happens in the U.S.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So I want to ask each of you before we have to sign up off, like, what's your latest kind of design obsession in your industry? So Malyka, is it, you know, you're working with metals. So is there a metal right now that you're kind of obsessed with?
I don't know if it's like a specific type of metal, but like a treatment of metal is everyone is loving kind of that rustic, like used kind of more unique type metal, you know, like it's like worn a little bit on the edges and stuff. And I think I saw it a lot at the KBIS last year, I think, was all these different textured metals and whatnot. And that's something that I think would be really cool brought into like the faucet space. So.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And so Abby, what about you? Besides that detail in the kitchen.
Yes. No, I think bringing in a lot of natural features. I mean, not just plants, but even natural woods, doing something creative with the shape of them, and nubby fabrics with organic shaped furniture. I'm really loving that right now.
Uh-huh. And Katelyn, what about you?
So mine would be a project that we just worked on was a universal project, and we've been doing a lot of those, so where it's accessible for everyone to use. So we've been really working on including not just in accessible people's homes, but in all homes, different types of accessories where it's a pull down accessory or it's different heights of things working on so it works for everybody and your age, your abilities, your anything like that. So just kind of making things more universal across the board has been really interesting for us. And
I love that. It's also that's with meaning for people. And I love that you're capping it off in that way. Suzie, do you have a final bit of advice to our wonderful 30 under 30?
Stay with it. Enjoy it. This is an industry that embraces everyone. It is forgiving and it is giving. It's all the above. And you're going to get out of it everything you put into it. So I encourage you to not only try to excel at your job, but also give back to the community. I mean, be active in associations, especially NKBA, but be active in the association world, be active in the giving world. Meet people like Cindy here and network. And the more you give, the more you get. It'll give you tenfold of what you give.
I completely agree. And, you know, this is, my hat's off to you guys, because it is definitely a trying time. And you're young designers and you're trying to find your own voice, but keep working on it. You know, you have mentors in your offices, and learn from them and grow and try to find that inner, that really makes you unique and original, because we all are, and we just have to find it. So first of all, big congratulations, our 30 under 30, congratulations, yay. And I know Susie's gonna have lots of fun things throughout the year through the NKBA, so thank you so much. And I do wanna thank my good pal, Suzie, for all of these programs that are supporting the industry, and that you're always trying to make things healthy and vital and moving forward. And I just love you for that. So thank you, Suzie.
Thank you. Thank you. You got to give back.
Yeah, you got to give back. Okay, thank you guys so much.
Bye.
30 under 30, go 30 under 30. Hey everybody, this is Cindy Allen, Editor-in-Chief of Interior Design. And today we have a very special conversation about wellness for our industry and product that helps us get there. Okay, so here's my question. What if our upholstery choices could help us regain some of the energy we lose throughout the day? Oh boy, yes, I'm raising my hand. Our amazing friends at DesignTex have introduced a new collection of fabrics featuring Celliant non-woven backing, engineered to boost performance and overall wellness benefits. Listen up, everybody. This is groundbreaking. Celliant is going to change things, and we're going to talk about it right here, right now. Please welcome the one and only Susan Lyons, President of DesignTex. Hi, Susan.
Oh, hey, Cindy. Hello, everyone.
And then we have Seth Casden, CEO and co-founder of HalogenX, a material science company dedicated to developing products that amplify human potential. And it's also Celliant's parent company. Hi, Seth.
Hi, thank you for having us.
So great to see you. And Trenton Horinek owns a sustainable innovation company called Low Impact and brings 15 plus years of experience in working with HalogenX in sales and business development. Hi, Trenton.
Hi, Cindy. Thanks for having me. And Seth, we are so excited to talk to you.
You know, I understand the beginning of the story actually starts with you, Trenton.
It does. It's pretty near and dear to my heart. You know, my father invented this technology decades ago with the goal of, well, unfortunately to Seth, it wasn't originally to make money. That was not the goal of the company in the beginning. The goal in the beginning was to find a way to help people better their lives through textiles. Because think about it, every day we're wearing clothes. We're sitting on, we're sitting on chairs made of fabric. We're always surrounded by textiles, even if you go all the way back to togas. Now this material, it never really did much for you. It kept you clothed, kept you warm, but that was really about the extent. And my father, he has his great-grandmother, or my great-grandmother, his grandmother at the time, had arthritis and diabetes complications, which allowed for, poor circulation, aches and pains, a mismanagement of temperature regulation. So he wanted to find a way to help her without the use of too many drugs. And this is where the adventure of wellness textiles began. So he found a formula of certain minerals that if you took and you ground them up and put them inside fibers, they could use your body heat to increase circulation, increase blood flow, and help with all these different ailments that people have on a daily basis. And this doesn't mean just wearing it. You can also sit on it. So that's where an amazing opportunity we found with the DesignTech's team. And it's really been a massive amount of growth we've seen in just these past few years as people realize that they can do more by just putting something on or sitting on something. So,
wait, I have to ask, so was your dad an engineer? A scientist?
He has a science background. So he has a chemistry and physics background, but not a functionally trained engineer in a school of that sort. So it required the out-of-the-box thinking to figure out that you could put rocks inside of yarn, which when we first started, we'd go to manufacturers with, hey, we have this idea to put this compound inside yarn. And then the first question obviously is, wait, you want to add a contaminant to our product line where we're not supposed to put rocks inside of yarn. So we had to completely flip the whole industry upside down and teach them that, look, you could do this and this would help people's lives. And here we are.
This is an unbelievable story, actually, right? And so he's helping the family and creating something that can help an entire industry, which is, what design is all about at the end of the day. So Seth, how did you then get involved?
David was a personal friend of mine, and we met for dinner to hear more about what he was working on. And my brother and I were just completely blown away. And it really made a lot of sense intuitively that you could capture and harness the body's energy. The world's really going green. We're seeing a really significant importance placed on making sure we're using renewable and sustainable resources. When we first started, there weren't even recycling bins for plastic bottles and glass bottles, and now they're ubiquitous. And we see humans as sort of the next evolution of renewable energy. There's 8 billion people on the planet. We're all giving off about 100 watts of energy just sitting here talking. And that's energy potential that can be harnessed and put in to the system of minerals to create infrared. And I was fascinated by the concept. It made sense to me intuitively. Proving it out on the science side would require a lot of work. And we're now 10 clinical studies in and 7 published papers. Wow. Can you give us sort of the definition of what salient technology actually is? Absolutely. It's a great question, and we're still carving our way through this. What we've really landed on is responsive textiles, and what Trenton was speaking of earlier, the history and evolution of innovation as it relates to fabrics has traditionally been limited to the physical material characteristics. So fibers that allow more moisture to wick, or breathability, or treatments that address UV or antimicrobial, synthetic fibers to help with different environmental conditions. But there really hasn't been until now an evolution in terms of the advancement that creates a physiological change in the body. So we've created this section within textiles, which we're calling responsive textiles, because they respond to the environment. And we would look at phase change materials under that umbrella. And then with our technology using infrared, we feel that bioceramic or ceramic minerals create a responsive textile. And that's where our focus has been. Now, Susan told me a really good story that one of the first applications was blankets for racehorses. Yes, and animals are great because people always question the science and invisible technology, something they've never heard of. We're skeptical, I think, by nature. but animals don't have a placebo effect. So when you see the effects on cats and dogs and horses, it really helps for somebody who maybe is a little skeptical on the science. But horses gave a tremendous initial validation of what we were doing.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, okay, Susan, so now we have Trenton, then we have Seth, and now we have DesignTex. So one thing I don't know that every designer really understands is that at the DNA of DesignTex is this intersection between art and science. They see amazing fabrics and hardworking fabrics, but that really is the thing that kind of propels you, right, Susan?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we, for the entire history of DesignTex, it's always been about that, trying to balance those two things. And we like to talk about it as textiles as a product of service. You know, of course, they have to be beautiful. They have to satisfy they have to deliver poetry and satisfy our soul, but really we like it when they can also do something more. So this notion of a responsive textile seemed to us like a very logical extension of the work we had already been doing, as Seth mentioned, around physical characteristics, where we can make products high performing, we can make them disinfectable, we can make them do all kinds of things. But the idea that they would be then to take it to this next level where a product is actually responsive to the user, we just found incredibly exciting. And our R&D team heard about this technology and heard about Salient, and then here we are 7 years later, I think. Yep. Right, Trenton?
Nope, 7 years indeed. I actually checked my emails before the sales meeting with DesignTex just to make sure, and it was 2013. So.
Wait, so Trenton, so DesignTex contacted you, and what were you thinking?
I'll tell you so the way it went. So we were in sales. We wanted to find customers. We wanted to find ways to get this out into the public. So, I had reached out to a company called Steelcase 7 years ago. That little company. And I wanted to think about how can we get people to sit on Salient? Because, if you're sitting all day, your blood flow is not as stimulated as it would be if you're walking or at a standing desk or something of that sort. So we wanted to try to combat sitting all day and then also bring in a wellness aspect. So I contacted someone from their R&D department. We met at Outdoor Retailer, which is a classic tale in this industry. And then from there, it was just a nonstop flow of, okay, how do we do this? Let's test it. We worked together. And then they brought in the DesignTex team, which once we met them, it kind of just catapulted into let's make it beautiful as well as functional. So it was a long journey, but we were so happy to get there.
And Susan, unless you go to your office, I mean, if you go there, you meet your folks who are always doing research and development, and it is super impressive, right?
Yeah, I mean, we love it. We're like nerds. What can I say? It's like, the whole idea that you can find a technology that somehow, as I said, can bring this extra layer of performance to any product that we make. I mean, there are millions of textiles, so because we also have a deep history in sustainable thinking, it's like, let's make things that are really incredibly useful and are going to help the user in a very, very palpable way. So we found this idea to be really, really thrilling. And to me, I mean, I find the story to be pretty magical, that Trenton's dad had this idea to help his grandmother with.
I know. Did it help your grandma? It
did. My grandmother, my great grandmother's passed away, which is my father's grandmother, but my grandmother still wears this product to the day. She's got every blanket, pillow, shirt, sock we've ever made. Every birthday, it's always a new gift for her of something, and she wears it constantly while she's watching true crime. So that is her daily routine.
I just love it. Okay, so it takes a lot of patience and a lot of support, I'm sure, Susan, to go on that journey. 7 years is a long time. So, you're coming out with some collections that you're going to talk to us about, but it can keep going, right?
Yeah, I mean, we're excited. I think when we started the project with Hologenics, you go down a road and you think, well, this is a yarn project. And then we thought, you know what, maybe we go a different way, because we felt like there was so much potential application for the product in healthcare and education and hospitality and corporate that we wanted to be able to offer a wide range of surface materials that would adapt to those requirements. So of course in healthcare, you need coated materials that can be wiped with disinfectants. So the first, I guess what Trenton, maybe the first 3 years, it was definitely a yarn project. And you know, the yarn project is a good project. So the yarn's going in lots of places, but for us, we got excited when Carol on our R&D team and Deidre kind of flipped the conversation and said, what if we made it a backing? And then of course it was a whole long series of testing that had to happen to make sure that the benefit was the same with the backing as it would be from a face fabric yarn and from the face fabric. So that took time. And in the meantime, Hologenics was doing all of these, you know, peer evaluated studies. And so it was, you know, like any development project, it's sort of 2 steps forward, a step back, 3 steps forward, a step back, and then you finally get there. But I was so excited about the solution of the backing because it solved so many problems, and it allowed us to take the product into places where we would have been limited a little bit before, but now we kind of have unlimited application. And you know, the other thing that's cool about this is that there is a sort of thermoregulation property that, and you know, we always hear from our Steelcase colleagues that the biggest complaint that people have in the office is that they're either too warm or too cold. So it also kind of helps with that issue as well.
So there's 2, right? One is that, right? Mm-hmm. And then the other is oxygenating.
Yes.
Seth, explain, give me a little bit of education on this too.
Sure, it's very interesting. The body, as part of the metabolic process, is creating energy in every cell individually. That's the Krebs cycle, or ATP. So energy, there's no energy organ in the body. Energy is made in every single cell individually. And that process is dependent on oxygen being transported from the blood into the tissue. And when you expose tissue to infrared light, it increases the cellular respiration rate, and it increases the cell's ability to pull oxygen more efficiently from the blood and create this energy for us. And so by being surrounded with textiles that have cellulite incorporated, you're giving the body an extra additional energy source that it wouldn't otherwise already have access to. And the bulk of our energy is used to keep our internal temperature at 37°C, or 98.6. And that requires the majority of our energy. As we know, most of the world is living in an ambient temperature that's below that. So we're constantly having to heat our body warmer than the climate we're in. And the way that that manifests, if we're in too cold of a climate, we get frostbite, our fingers and toes get cold, our body conserves heat for the core and the brain. And conversely, if we're too hot, our body increases circulation to help get heat away from the body before it starts perspiring. So if you can increase circulation, you help the body maintain its core temperature. If you're too hot, it'll help cool you. If you're too cold, it'll help warm you. And giving that additional resource to the body frees up resources for other things. So increasing circulation is really the foundation of the thermoregulation story, and being able to deliver increased oxygen to the tissue.
And if I could, Cindy, one thing to add is, you know, it creates a hybrid engine for the body. So, you know, you're constantly producing energy and producing heat, but a lot of that is usually lost. I think it's about 60% of the energy that your body creates. So you eat your food, you drink your water, you exercise, you have all your energy, 60% is lost. So we're now able to kind of turn your body into this hybrid engine where you wear the textile and you can conserve that energy that otherwise you would just be losing to the atmosphere. So
it's kind of, it is kind of amazing. Now I'm thinking about it with our industry in mind, and you know, designers are specifying product, but they're also having to communicate it and sell it to their client, right? So Susan, what would they say to their clients about this product?
Well, we talk about it as a charging station for people. So, you know, which is the sort of probably less eloquent version of what Trenton just said.
but it's catchy. It's catchy.
Yeah, it gives you that image of like, oh, okay, I see. I'm getting some benefit from this. And I think what's great about it is, you know, we have clients always have a different level of interest in terms of how much they want you to tell them. So, you know, some people that will be enough, and that will be the image that lets them understand what the product is intended to do. But if somebody wants more information and more detail, you know, Seth has many, many peer-reviewed studies and scientific papers that go into the science very, very seriously. So I think we can communicate that story at kind of all levels of detail that might be required.
Tell us how you actually develop Stellient.
Got it. So step one, you start with nature, right? Because every good invention has looked at nature in some way, shape, or form to get there, right? You can always find a good inspiration there. So the first thing is you find minerals that will react with the human body. So react with energy, whether they absorb energy, they reflect energy, they transmit it. In some way, shape, or form, you create this combination of minerals that reacts with the body and what it gives off. Then you take those minerals, and this is the hard part, is you have to grind them really, really small. And each particle is about 180 times thinner than a human hair, which is extremely small. And they can't be any larger than that, or then the whole process of turning it into yarn at the end is botched. So once you get them down to this equal particle size, you add it to a big vat of liquid polymer carry, whether it's a recycled polyester, a new cellulose like we've created, or a normal polyester. You add this batch, imagine like a cauldron, you're adding in the minerals, and it gets dispersed throughout, so everything's equally dispersed, there's no clumping up. And then imagine making pasta, right? So you have these spinnerets that all pull down these strands, and inside these strands is the mineral material. So making pasta throughout these strands, they're chopped or they're even put on a cone if it's a continuous filament. And then from there, that is put into fabric or nonwoven backing or any sort of application from there. And the minerals always stay inside the yarn. They never leave it. So it's not a coating or an additive or a wash. Once you buy a product with the Stellient, it lasts forever, as long as the garment's around or as long as the seat's around, anything like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. All right, Seth, let's add to this a little bit, because I read that your mission is to innovate responsive textiles that improve the quality of people's lives. When you were developing this, I mean, how exciting is something like this? What was your background?
Well, it was and is very exciting for me. Making money is obviously why we go to work, I guess, on a certain level, but being able to help people and improve the quality of their lives and get the testimonials and the feedback is really, for me, what makes it enjoyable. It's been fascinating just to kind of build on what Trent was saying. You never really think of fabric starting out as a liquid.
Right.
And I always use this analogy of making a cake, and the minerals are the baking soda or whatever analogy you want to use. And once you extrude it and create this material, it's embedded, and so it's going to have this functionality. My background is in business administration, and I have not been trained as a scientist, but really on a certain level, we're just connecting the dots. I think Trent's point on nature is very well said and well made. The body is an energy source that can be measured in watts. We're all giving off energy just by being alive, sentient beings. And there are minerals, naturally occurring earth minerals, that absorb heat and emit infrared, convert heat to infrared. And the body responds positively to infrared. And so connecting the dots of those three things and creating a system that generates infrared that's powered by the body's own energy emissions creates a really unique story. And this hybrid engine for the human body is I think, really a fascinating way to look at it.
Okay, Seth, so give me the 30-second cliff notes of how the technology works.
Absolutely, Cindy. The technology works by absorbing the heat as it comes off the body. The minerals absorb that heat, convert it to infrared, and send it back into the body, which creates a vasodilation and improves the circulation and blood flow to help with thermoregulation and increase the tissue oxygen levels.
One thing I'd like to add. So during the process of building this technology and growing, what kept at least me going during the day was the testimonials we'd get from people. Because we always had a motto at the company, like, if someone wanted to try the product, we'd send them a pair of socks free of charge, or we'd send them something. If they inquired to us, hey, I'm having problems with this or this, we would find the product, we'd send it to them and just say, enjoy and let us know. And for years and years, we would go to this outdoor retailer show, And we would give out socks to not just the people coming to our booth, but before the even setup began, we'd give it to all the workers, the people driving the forklifts, carrying the boxes, everything like that. And they'd come back every year after year to be like, hey, do you have more of those socks? I don't know what's in them, but they are magical, and they work. They help my feet. I don't feel as warm. It's more circulation. So that's what kept us going through this development process, because in the beginning, this was literally like trying to sell airplane tickets before there was airplanes. You had to explain to someone that your body gave off energy, you could actually use it, and you could actually use it through clothes. You just have to put something on or sit on something and it works. So that's what kind of kept us motivated, is seeing these people send emails that said, wow, you helped me in this way or this way. And it was so nice to see.
I love that. Everyone's going to want the magic socks, that's for sure.
I don't know what my limit is, but I give out a lot. So it's up to
I'm sure you do. Now, I understand, though, it started in the fashion industry, correct?
Fashion was an area. I mean, it started within so many different areas. You know, from hosiery was a big part, because your extremities, your hands and feet, you can feel very, small changes. And most people know if they're cold or hot, depending on how they feel in their hands or their feet. So we had a lot of hosiery business at first, some outdoor business, insoles. I mean, we always say, you know, it's like a football field. We're just 100 yards wide in every single industry you could be in. So, I mean, it's good, but also you have to make sure you see industries that make sense. So we saw one is, you know, the seating applications, and actually put it in where someone's going to be contacted all day as a beautiful application for the product. So
So Susan, let's talk about the 4 collections that right now they're out in the market, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep, they are.
So
yeah, so we, once the backing was developed, we thought, thinking about where would this product be meaningful. So there were certain marketplaces, like the corporate market, certainly, where people are sitting in their chairs a long time. Education, for sure, where there could be a real positive benefit to students in terms of, you know, aiding their learning outcomes potentially. And hospitality we saw as a benefit too, just because there's a growing interest in wellness in that industry. And then, of course, healthcare. So we thought, you know, to start out, let's put the backing on 4 different product lines that address those 4 different markets. So we have a silicone product that's a very heavy duty coated product that can be cleaned with disinfectants, you know, that's perfect for healthcare. There was a whole lot of testing that had to be done just to make sure that the efficacy of the backing was going to work through this very, very robust coated product, which it does. And then we did kind of softer chenille product, thinking about kind of corporate and hospitality. And then a sort of basic plain that could sort of go everywhere. So we were just trying to give people enough choice. So the collection is about, it's about 120 SKUs, I guess, at this point. And now, since we have the backing in production, our goal is to obviously introduce more products with the backing on them as standard products, but then also figure out how to offer it as a custom product. So someone could come to our collection and say, I'd like to have 200 yards of this textile with the backing on it. We're still kind of working through the logistics of that. But yeah, it's been great. And, you know, big enthusiasm in the marketplace. It's just a great story to be part of and to share with people. So
absolutely. I mean, everything that's happening right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just also going to say, just to touch on, and maybe Seth wants to jump in on all of the work behind the scenes, I think, with all the studies that you've done and the work with the FDA, just because I think that also gives the product such a lot of weight in a way.
We want everyone to know that this is not marketing and PR language. This is a science, right? This is a long, hard-earned science. So give us some info, Seth.
Absolutely. I think healthy skepticism is great. I think people should question, especially new things and innovation. There are a lot of words that are used in advertising that maybe are more puffery. This is a science-based product. We're a science-based company. We consider ourselves a life science company versus a textile or manufacturing company. And we do have a challenge with infrared. It's beyond the visible spectrum, so people don't see that. They don't necessarily have a familiarity with infrared. If you mention night vision goggles, or for people that saw the Predator movie, then you get nods. Oh, I understand what you're talking about. And then the circulation and the enhancement of that is subtle. And some people feel If you're not comfortable, you'll notice a change because you'll become comfortable. But if you're already comfortable, measuring the value and the significance of that improved circulation is something that we wanted to dedicate a lot of time to really demonstrate unequivocally the benefits. And so we wanted to start with, how are we going to create a chain of science that leads to a clinical result? And so the first thing we do is we look at the material that's been developed by the supply chain. So when DesignTech creates these beautiful fabrics, we send them for an ash analysis, and that allows us to prove and to measure the amount of minerals that have been added. And we can weigh that and see that there's a certain amount that we require. And then the next step is looking at the emissivity of the material itself and being able to measure the increased output of infrared. And that's also a mechanical measurement, and you're measuring milliwatts of energy per centimeter squared. And then we want to be able to tie that to a clinical outcome. So we look at the best endpoint, which we've been able to identify, and which is the best currently in the medical community for circulation of the peripheral tissue, is tissue oxygen levels. And so that's the TCOM, or the TCPO2 diagnostic device that is used normally with in neonatal care or with diabetics. And we're measuring people's tissue oxygen increases using a salient fabric versus a control fabric, or if they get the salient first because it's blinded and there is a placebo, some people receive the salient first, and then you see a decrease when they go to the non-salient fabric. So that test that we did was on 153 subjects with a very wide cross-section that mirrors the US demographics from a male, female, age, ethnicity, BMI standpoint. It was a very good broad cross-section of the US population. And the average increase after 90 minutes was over 8%. And I think what, we're always looking for silver linings, and with COVID, there is a really good education that's happening right now around the importance of circulation and health and wellness and keeping our bodies active and healthy as a preventative measure. I think as healthcare evolves into the 21st century, we're going to be looking more and more at how to keep people healthy. Once they're sick, now you've got to treat them. But if you can keep people healthy, and then that's really going to be the best healthcare savings we can create. And so for us, we think that now there's really a global recognition of the importance of circulation, and having something that can improve your blood flow really does help your health and wellness. And we spent, so I was just going to add, we spent 10 years working with the FDA, and they really helped, from our standpoint, helped us improve the validation and the amount of science around this technology. And as a result of that, we have been determined to be a medical device and a general wellness product. And we can put that statement on any products that contain our technology that are properly engineered.
Yeah, I understand it's FDA approved, but it's like special kind of lingo that you use, right?
Yeah, FDA and the word approval are things that can never go together unless you're a drug that's been cleared through a drug trial.
Who knew this?
Yeah, to the layman person, the words are pretty interchangeable. But even for us, the correct word is determined. But you need to explain what's determined. It's determined to be a medical device and a general wellness product. And so the sentence needs to be used in its entirety. And we have very clear guidelines developed so that everybody understands what they can and can't say. But we are an FDA-determined medical device and general wellness product.
Amazing. I mean, Trenton, I think about your family again and everything we're going through in the world right now. And what does all of this really mean for this idea that was hatched and developed to, like, what could happen today to so many helping?
It's a big deal for us. I mean, just, we had a recent adoption, I think over a year or so ago by Under Armour, which was a really big push for us in the sense of, the general population. Because most people, if you go on the street and say, hey, your body gives off energy and we can use it, and you say the word infrared, you get kind of a blank stare. Maybe they've heard of an infrared sauna. But to have, a big brand like Under Armour come out with a whole entire collection, hundreds of SKUs of product, really puts the name behind, hey, this is a real technology. Your body can actually benefit from this, so might as well try it. But for us and our family, I mean, it's been such a pleasure seeing this whole product and the way it's grown. I mean, it started as being called Holofiber way back in the day, and before that it was called Tachyon. I mean, this product has had an evolution, and it will continue to have an evolution. I mean, just as we see at the Hologenics headquarters now, we're working on a recycled polyester version, the cellulose version, trying to make sure that we also have our commitment to the environment at front of mind. And these are things that we'll continue to do. We'll continue to bring out new products, continue to bring new innovation and new developments, because as Seth said, we're a life science company, and there's always ways we can work to improve the body. And I'm sure anything new will always bring the design techs as well. So
yeah, of course. And so I think about you, Susan, too, because it takes a leader like yourself, who has the tenacity and also the vision, the patience to keep it moving forward. So I want to thank you for that. For the designers, a couple things. 2 things to remember. 2 palpable benefits: increased oxygenation. I certainly need it. I'm sitting all day long. And thermoregulation. And if you want, I know this is going to be really interesting for our community. So a few things. If you want more info, go to designtechsalient.com for more information. Talk to your Design Tech's rep. And was there another thing? Get a sample. You can order a sample, right? Get a sample. My God, that would be so exciting. Get a sample. Once they get a sample, that's it, right, Susan?
Exactly.
Right. So for our future moving forward, and for wellness to ourselves, and certainly in the world that we're living in right now, first of all, my hat's off to all of you. Thank you so much, Seth, Trenton, Susan Lyons. I love you guys. Thank you for sharing this. And we want to see what keeps developing, right?
Indeed.
Yeah, we'll be happy to share.
Yeah, I want my magic socks, okay?
Yeah.
You get a pair. I'm allowed to give you a pair for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. And let's keep this conversation going for sure.
Thank you, Cindy. Great to see you, Seth and Trent.
Nice to see you too.
You're terrific, you guys.
Thank you.